open it up for the floor of council for any questions. Councillor Hawkins?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. My questions for the administration is simply ask them to address the point that the delegation has made.
Thank you, Mayor Masters. I'm going to ask Ms. Dawson if she has any comment on this, being Director of Planning, on how this may have come about. And I would also ask Mr. Wary, our City Solicitor, to weigh in on some of the implications from this.
Ms. Dawson?
Yeah, thank you through you, Mayor Masters. The delegation has noted that the houses on the property have been demolished. For demolition of those houses, it doesn't require council approval. They would submit an application to our building officials, and we would, inspect that. If they are using the property as parking right now, we will follow up with the owners. They do require, should this pass, they do require approval through our administration to construct the parking as per the terms of the contract agreement before commencing the use. So I'll leave it there and see if Mr. Weary has anything else.
Thank you, Ms. Dawson. Mr. Weary?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The effective date of any change to the contract zone would be enabled by passage of the bylaw in front of council tonight and the follow-up contract zone agreement with the property owner. So in our view, this shouldn't be used as a parking lot until it's approved by council. And as Ms. Dawson has said, the appropriate contract zone agreement has been entered into.
Mr. Hawkins?
Madam Mayor, I have a comment on this. The purpose of changing this so that it could be turned, the purpose for the change was to permit the use of a parking lot. The change hasn't finally been approved by council, and the houses have been demolished in preparation for the use as a parking lot. Seems to me as an excessively technical read of what's happening here to permit those houses to be demolished before council has finally approved the matter before it. It's clear that we can't recover from this, but it's also clear that the democratic will of council has been short-circuited by this process. It's an example of silo thinking in the administration. I would have expected the administration to know exactly what was going on here, why the contract zone change was being sought, that it was for a parking lot, and I would have expected before permission would have been granted to demolish the houses, that this process would have been allowed to be completed before any demolition permit would have been granted. So I think that the delegation has raised a very important point that goes to the question of parking and what happened here, but goes to the much broader question of the democratic authority of council. I'm concerned by it.
Thank you, Councillor Hawkins. Mr. Nicol?
Thank you, Mayor Masters. I will ask Ms. Dawson to expand on this, but it is my understanding, as I believe from Ms. Bryden, the permit to demolish the houses is a separate issue from any future use of those lots. That does in no way excuse the fact that we may have missed something, Councillor Hawkins, but the future plan of that was in no way tied to demolishing those two houses. That's a separate decision. Ms. Dawson, if there's anything you might want to add to that, please.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Masters, Mr. Nicol is correct. The demolition of the houses could have occurred years ago. That doesn't provide the right or the authority to use it as a parking lot until a decision is made by council. So they came in and applied for a demolition permit. That would have been the process, and then we don't have a holding provision for those particular demolition permits that we would say for a heritage permit or anything like that. We are required to issue those permits should they be applied for. But again, I would reiterate that doesn't provide authority for the next use until those permissions have been granted.
Councillor Hawkins, did you have any further comment or question?
I think that this is a loophole. I think it requires examination by the administration And I'd ask for them to look at this situation, and I'd ask for an undertaking for them to come back to council and explain how this problem can be avoided in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Hawkins. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. Through the chair, just to register 2 comments about this. One is, none of this seems to align with the principles or language or downtown plan or existing bylaws. I'm kind of curious as to why this would ever have had a positive recommendation from administration coming forward. The other is, we seem to be following this odd logic that if we're going to save the downtown and make it safer, we first have to destroy it and put up parking lots. I don't buy it. So I think we stand pretty firm on this issue and stop recommending the approval of these kind of initiatives that defy everything we're trying to do with a particular community. We'll be voting against this.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Seeing no further questions from council, I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through you, Mayor Masters, second reading carries 5-4, with the following members voting in favor as follows: Councillors Mancinelli, Moll, Findura, Bresciani, and Mayor Masters. And the following voting against are Councillors Hawkins, Stadnichuk, Stevens, and Zakidniak.
Thanks very much to the clerk. Acting Deputy Mayor Bresciani, can you please do consent for third reading of the bylaw?
Thank you. I move, seconded by Councillor Hawkins, that council hereby consents to bylaw 2022-42 going to a third reading at this meeting.
Can we have another seconder on third reading?
Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Mancinelli. This is for permission to consent for third reading. I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the motion is lost, as we are required to have a unanimous vote in order to go to the final reading of the bylaw at this meeting.